Welcome to Hollywood, where celebrities get high to reach new lows. Some of them ruin careers, some ruin lives, and a lot more, they ruin families. This is the Celebrity Secret Addiction tier list. It's a common theme in Hollywood. Child actors getting the short end of the stick when it comes to transitioning to adulthood. But Drew Barrymore, she's a very unique case. Unique in the way that her journey into cocaine started when she was just 12 years old, right after filming E.T. And no, it wasn't because of filming with a problematic movie star like E.T. Things were much worse behind the scenes. Drew Barrymore was born into the royal family of celebrities, being pushed into acting at a much earlier stage in her life. It didn't help that her parents were also drugged out of their minds and piled the stress on Drew. The stress must have really been something else because Drew Barrymore began downing bottles of Bailey's at the tender age of 7. After coming out as a full-blown addict by the age of 13, she finally got the help that she needed. Locked up in an institution for her own good? This is one addiction case that's just plain shocking. S tier. Once upon a time, before Bradley Cooper could rocket his raccoon, he was just a guy in Hollywood trying to make it big. And after having doors slammed in front of his face enough times, he began to think there was something genuinely wrong with him. Leave it to Hollywood to make someone like Bradley Cooper think he's ugly. Eventually, to numb the pain of his own insecurities, he turned to alcohol and cocaine. A little bit of method acting for his role in Hangover and A Star is Born, I guess.
And that was like the first time I ever realized I had a problem with drugs and alcohol.
For years, he'd been showing up shit-faced to different functions, actor meetings, and even casting calls because he needed the liquid courage to push through. Soon enough, the string of forgotten appointments and shit-faced meetings, coupled with his complete disregard for the safety and health of himself and others in his life, fellow actor Will Arnett hit him with a truth bomb. He needed rehab, and he's been doing better ever since. A tier. If Hollywood could ruin a man like Bradley Cooper, then imagine the damage it can do to the next star on our list. Hollywood just loves feasting on its budding young star, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan moved to LA when she was just 17 to help push her career right in the mouth of execs. Of course, there was no issue following your dreams of being an actress, but the only problem here was that she went alone. A minor plus Los Angeles is the perfect recipe for disaster. Bit by bit, Lindsay Lohan started attending Hollywood parties, and before she knew it, she was addicted to alcohol and other hard substances like cocaine. But of course, this wasn't much of a secret to the public as the entire world saw. DUI after DUI arrests on Ms. Lohan between 2007 and 2012. With her career ruined and relationships in tatters, let's just be thankful she got the help she needed when she needed it. B tier. We've heard of cocaine, we've heard of weed. That's basic Hollywood addiction at this point. One addiction that people don't think about much, or have much for the matter, is sex addiction. Famous golf player Tiger Woods has been giving out more wood than his name lets on, cheating on his wife with multiple women. This is a private matter and I want to keep it that way. Sorry, Tiger, you can't keep things private when you cheat on your wife with 120 women. A revelation that would send Tiger Woods reeling so hard that he'd crashed his 2009 Escalade into a fire hydrant. Tiger Woods was the golden boy of golf, so aside from his marriage crumbling down, his entire image was torn to shreds overnight as well. Soon after all the infidelity came out of the woodwork, Tiger Woods went to rehab for sex addiction. Hopefully now he's gonna keep shooting for hole-in-ones. S tier. But this isn't the biggest shocker on this list. So you better stick around until the end to see a star who, to this very day, is still addicted and proud of it. Way to go, Spider-Man. Tobey's best known for his web-slinging persona, but back then he was more of a Jay Gatsby kind of guy, if he were a slimy cheat. Tobey was a gambler, and he was addicted to the thrill of the game. In a bit that inspired the movie Molly's Game back in 2018, Tobey apparently had a full-on underground high-stakes poker ring meant to wring money out of Hollywood's biggest names, turning them into Hollywood's biggest suckers. The magic happened in the Viper Room, a basement in a Sunset Strip nightclub. Here, stars like Leonardo DiCaprio and Ben Affleck would mingle with millionaires and put up stakes so high that losses in a single night would often amount to 6 digits. One of McGuire's compatriots said that winning $20,000 felt like losing when it came to McGuire's underground poker ring. But things eventually died down when a few whistleblowers spoke up, going down as one of Hollywood's worst-kept secrets. A tier. Speaking of gambling superheroes, here we have Mr. Michael Jordan, who gambled on more than just his fadeaway shots. Michael Jordan was always a competitive spirit. That's part of the reason why he won so many championships. But it turns out that competitiveness doesn't really have an off switch. As great as it made him, it also made MJ incredibly insufferable, betting on things as small as golf games and even casual card games. There's also been moments of MJ being caught playing at poker tables in Atlantic City during the playoffs. I don't have a gambling problem, I have a competition problem. But probably the worst part about MJ's gambling was the rumors that came from his father's eventual passing. There's been a lot of rumors circling around that his father's death was a mafia hit after MJ bit off more than he can chew, owing the mafia a great deal of money. Money his father had to pay with his life. Be it true or not, let's just hope MJ starts gambling on some eye drops because goddamn. B tier. The stakes have never been higher in our tier list, and these next celebrities put his wife and family on the line for his addiction. The man, the myth, the muscular legend. This man's muscles are so huge you'd think that he was addicted to working out or steroids or some other addiction that makes sense, but like many others on this list, he fell to the silent killer. Terry Crews was an adult video addict years ago, to the point where it's almost ruined his marriage. Pornography really messed up my life in a lot of ways. An addiction that started when he was 12 years old, Terry Crews developed a horrible misogynistic mindset that made him feel better than the women around him, viewing them as objects more than just people. Which personally might be true. I think to him, I'd probably be more of a toothpick or a tube of toothpaste. These psychological effects all came bubbling up to the surface when he almost cheated on his wife at a massage parlor. The mere thought of it was enough to stop him in his tracks and send him to rehab. B tier. The NBA player with one of history's deadliest crossovers has apparently had a run-in with casino security not once, but twice. Allen Iverson, better known as The Answer, has been banned from multiple casinos due to his spending habits, and one nasty moment where he urinated in a public trash can. Talking about making it rain. Allen Iverson has always been a lavish person, often spending just as much money as he earns every time he gets a paycheck. Multiple Bentleys, iced out chains, and clothes that sent the NBA into a new era of fashion. If he isn't spending it in stores, he's wasting it in strip clubs and casinos, even losing as much as $1 million in a single night at a casino in Atlantic City. Although that is a pretty big sum, it's nothing to end a career. C tier. Billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, and also former drug addict. RDJ's descent into drug abuse all started when he was a child, when old Robert Downey Sr. himself was having some trouble managing his substances. At the age of 6, Robert Downer Jr. was already huffing in marijuana smoke, with his father being completely supportive. The two began doing drugs and drinking as their own messed up way of father-son time, all the while letting RDJ have a successful acting career. It wasn't until 1996 when RDJ's career took a nosedive after he was arrested for heroin and cocaine possession. This would be the first in the many strings of arrests, most of which RDJ was completely shit-faced for. Multiple occasions of RDJ being barefoot and wandering around Culver City, sometimes even wandering into a neighbor's house and passing out right in their bed. A Goldilocks moment for our Iron Boy, B tier. So far, we've had gambling, drinking, sex, and drugs on our list. But what if I told you that at the end of this video, we'll have the final boss of addiction? Keep watching to find out which celebrity it is. The master of horror has also surprisingly been facing his own demons, most of them found at the bottom of bottles. Stephen King's drug and alcohol use were legendary, to the point where he felt that he could only write masterpieces when he was high out of his mind. There's even a rumor going around that he wrote the entirety of his book Cujo while under the influence, and that even he has no idea what was going on when he wrote it. It did win some awards though, so maybe I just need one more swig to... Nope, just kidding. This dependence on alcohol and hard drugs was often a theme he hinted at throughout his books, and it took an intervention by his wife for him to agree to be taken to rehab. Solid A tier. We are not keeping her name out of our mouth. We have to talk about Jada. During one of her Red Table Talk, which included her own daughter Willow Smith as one of the guest stars, She openly admitted to having a porn addiction. An addiction brought upon by a feeling of emptiness. Jada took to porn to find a momentary spark within her. It was actually like feeling like an emptiness. It makes you think it is, but it's actually not. Whether or not she finds this emptiness with Will Smith these days is probably the better question here. C tier. Speaking of horrible marriages, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. A year or two ago, the news of Johnny Depp being a wife-beater was all everyone could ever think about. And now he's on cologne bottles rocking out on his electric guitar. There's still no clear answer as to who was being more toxic in the relationship, and honestly, I'd like to keep out of it. The fact of the matter is that Johnny Depp leads a very toxic lifestyle. Toxic as in his substance abuse is literally killing him slowly. When the Amber Heard trial started, Johnny Depp's substance addiction became the highlight of the trial. Starting from smoking cigarettes since he was 11 years old, he's now graduated to blacking out from sniffing cocaine and spending $30,000 on expensive wine in a single month. I sure hope he's throwing parties over there. Since the Amber Heard trials, he's been admittedly sober, for the most part. B tier. It's no secret that Hollywood and child celebrities don't mix well together. And for a while, it looked like that Harry Potter kids were the biggest exceptions to that. Oh boy, were we wrong. Turns out, the boy who lived often drowned his sorrows in butterbeer, a bad habit that started when he was 18 and lasted all the way to 22. But if you think it was the fame and stress driving him crazy, you'd be dead wrong. In fact, it was the opposite. Daniel was afraid his fame would end the same time Harry's story would end. He wanted to stay relevant, and getting shit-faced drunk every now and then kept him relevant. If I went out and got drunk, I'd start to notice people were interested in that. Because it wasn't just some guy getting drink. It was, oh, Harry Potter's getting drunk in the bar. What's even more impressive, though, was that Daniel is the most functional addict on this list. Often showing up to movie sets drunk or hungover out of his mind, and no one would be able to tell. A tier. If Daniel Radcliffe wanted to be in the spotlight, Zac Efron wanted to be out of it. Growing up as a Disney child star meant that all eyes were on you everywhere and anytime, and Zac was being choked out. This forced Zac to abandon most of his hobbies, because you can't really get zen with a camera flashing in your face. Without his peace and privacy, he turned to some liquid confidence to get him through every day. During this, Zac started every day Googling himself just to see how everyone else saw him, a bad habit that drove him even closer to addiction. Turns out, sober or high, it didn't matter to the media. He'd end up on tabloids no matter what he did, so he went to rehab and started living life for himself. B tier. It wasn't the drugs, it wasn't the alcohol, it was the porn addiction that did Chris Rock's 2 decades-long marriage to an end. Gooning is one hell of a drug, and Chris Rock reached legendary levels of porn addiction. He'd show up to functions late all because of porn. And worst of all, he'd even cheated on his wife multiple times on tour because of just how much porn he had on his mind. When you watch too much porn, you know what happens. You get desensitized. When you start watching porn, any porn will do. Then, later on, you're all it up, and you need a perfect porn cocktail to get aroused. I was so fed up. I'm a lot better now. He's sober now, of course, but seeing that smile after being slapped by Will Smith really makes you think. S tier. In a recent Twitter tirade, famous rapper and style icon Kanye West crashed out and publicly announced that he was addicted to porn. As if we didn't even know. Kanye had always been openly crazy. He's been addicted to drugs, alcohol, women, but porn seems to hold some of the most insane stories. Take, for example, Nicki Minaj's account of her time working with Ye for his MBDTF album, where Ye would give her life-changing advice for her music, all while having naked women plastered all over his studio walls and on every monitor. There's been so much porn during his production process that he made DJ duo Daft Punk hallucinate during their collaboration. Do you know how bad your porn addiction has to be to make a French DJ duo hallucinate because of porn? We're talking 24/7 loops of porn. S tier, double S tier, no contest. Now, drugs, alcohol, and sex? Yeah, they're bleak. But what about the celebs addicted to making it rain? Head over to our channel to check out our latest video, the 12 craziest NBA player cars tier list. And hey, if we caught you by surprise with any of these celebrity addictions, then go ahead. like, and subscribe for more shockers. Better yet, hit that bell button to get your daily fix. Come on, you know you want to.